Hello and welcome to the English Magnet. Today's video, second and third conditionals made easy. We've previously covered the zero and first conditionals in this video, which deals with real or likely situations in the present or future. Now, we're going to focus on if statements dealing with hypothetical situations. It's a must-watch to sound like a native speaker. Also, be sure to watch until the end to learn about the most common mistakes. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's quickly recap what conditionals are. They're sentences with two parts: the if clause, or the condition, and the main clause, aka the result or outcome. Remember that they express a cause and effect relationship. In this video, we'll focus on the last two types, which encompass very unlikely or impossible conditions. So the second conditional is a sentence structure used to talk about unreal situations in the present or future. It's often used to express imaginary scenarios and their outcomes, such as dreams, wishes, and situations that are not currently true. Its structure follows the pattern if plus past simple for the condition, and would plus base form of the verb for the result or outcome. For instance, if I had more time, I would travel around the world. If she knew the answer, she would tell us. Just like other conditionals, it's okay to change the order of the condition and the outcome. Oddly enough, the use of the past simple in the condition doesn't imply an action taking place in the past, but rather an unreal or hypothetical situation in the present or future. It's puzzling, but you have to take our word for it. On the bright side, a little bonus is that with the verb to be, for I, he, she, and it, you can use either was or were being more formal, while was is still widely used in spoken English. So you can use were for any subject pronoun. For example, if I was rich, I would buy a ticket to outer space. If I were rich, I would buy a ticket to outer space. Furthermore, apart from was, were, all verbs use the same form for all subject pronouns, in the condition and in the result as well. This makes it pretty easy to memorize. Finally, in the outcome, would can be contracted into apostrophe D when preceded by a subject pronoun, unless it's the negative form, where not is between would and the base form. If you wish to use a contraction, it's going to be wouldn't plus the base form of the verb. And remember that the negative past simple form is did not plus the base form of the verb when the condition is a negative. For example, if I had more time, I wouldn't travel around the world. If she didn't know the answer, she would tell us. Now the third and last conditional is used to talk about situations in the past that didn't happen. It's a common way of stating a regret. So the condition states something that has zero chance of happening until we invent the time machine. And consequently, the result is fabricated and imagined. Its structure is if plus past perfect, that's had, plus a past participle, and would plus have plus another past participle. For example, if they had studied harder, they would have passed the exam. If it had not rained, we would have gone to the beach. If she had known about the traffic, she would not have been late. Yes, switching the condition and the result is totally fine. A quick tip: review the past participles, as they are used in both the condition and the result. If you're dealing with a regular verb, you're golden. It's the ed form. And for irregular verbs, hit the books and study the third form of verbs. Do, did, done. Throw, threw, thrown. Come, came, come. You might hear and see a lot of id, you'd, he'd, she'd, and so on. Just to be careful, since here both had and would can be contracted. Right after if, it's if I had, or if I'd. And before have, it's I would have, I'd have. It's also okay to contract would and have to make would've. And finally, the negative particle not is always found after had or would and can be contracted, like in the following. If they'd studied harder, they'd have passed the exam. If it hadn't rained, we would have gone to the beach. If she'd known about the traffic, she wouldn't have been late. Okay, now let's go over 2 common mistakes that even native speakers struggle with. Watch out for the following. First, some people confuse the contraction would've with would of, which is just not a thing, even though the contraction does sound like these 2 words. Anyhow, when you hear I would have been, it's actually the contraction I would have been. Second, don't follow if with would in a conditional. That's never right. If I would is just not grammatically correct in a conditional statement. This mistake is very common in the second conditional. Just make sure you don't have 2 woulds in your statement. If I would be rich, I would buy a new car ought to be if I were rich, I would buy a new car. There's only 1 would. Hopefully, this has been helpful. We're sad to see you go. Surely, if you had more time, you'd watch another video. Or you'd click on the link to access some free grammar activities directly related to this topic. Keep practicing and you'll get the hang of it. Thank you for watching. Until next time.